We are discussing A Vindication of the Rights of Woman
by Mary Wollstonecraft.
Wollstonecraft was born in 1759, and as a child she suffered various problems from her father's failure at enterprises, and with his large inheritance he failed to remain sober. To get away, she became a lady companion, and her mother became sick, so she returned home. After her mother's death, she left for good. In London, Mary met Joseph Johnson and published several things and became very intertwined with his circle of artists, writers, and publishers. She advocated education of young women, emotion, overthinking, and regular physical activity. Mary was an adventurer and had an out-of-wedlock daughter with Gilbert Imlay. She then had major attempts of suicide because Imlay was sleeping around. She then became pregnant after an affair and died during childbirth complications.
In the introduction of A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, Mary Wollstonecraft starts out by saying that lately she's been upset because she sees how unfair women are treated. She thinks that women's lack of good education is a cause for depression and the unfair treatment of women. In A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, Chapter 1, Mary Wollstonecraft states, "The education of women has of late been more attended to than formerly, yet they are still reckoned a frivolous sex, and ridiculed or pitied by the writers who endeavor by satire or instruction to improve them. It is acknowledged that many spend the first years of their lives in acquiring a smattering of accomplishments. Meanwhile, strength of body and mind are sacrificed to libertine notions of beauty, to the desire of establishing themselves, and the only way that women can rise in the world is by marriage." She believes that women's lack of education teaches them to be ignorant and superficial, which makes their family lives and their own lives much more miserable. Mary Wollstonecraft states that women should be treated as well as men because they possess just as much intelligence as men. She hopes that rational argument will show that it's best for women to get an education. Mary assumed the power of reason was what placed humankind above the natural world in the Romantic era. She also thought that moral goodness and virtue was what made humans better than any other living being. Wollstonecraft came to the conclusion that reason can help women overcome by looking at things more objectively. She encouraged women to think for themselves and to make something out of their lives.
In Chapter 2, the prevailing opinion of a sexual character discussed, Mary Wollstonecraft's point throughout her excerpt is the right to be more educated for women. On page 315, she says, "I now speak of women who are restrained by principle or prejudice. Such women, though they would shrink from an intrigue you with real abhorrence, yet nevertheless wish to be convinced by the homage of gallantry that they are cruelly neglected by their husbands. Or days and weeks are spent in dreaming of the happiness enjoyed by the congenial souls till their health is undetermined, and their spirits broken by discontent. How then can the great art of pleasing be such a necessary study? Is it only useful to a mistress? The chaste wife and serious mother should only consider her power to please as the polish of her virtues, and the affection of her husband as one of the comforts that render her task less difficult and her life less happier? But whether she be loved or neglected, her first wish should be to make herself respectable, and not to rely for all her happiness on a being subject like infirmities with herself." Mary Wollstonecraft's opinion was that women should be able to learn more than about how to be a good wife for their husbands or good mothers for their children. She exercised her point when she explains that some men just want to have power and are determined not to give it up. I think that she is right. Men were really not sure how far a woman could strive in being successful. She also stresses that our bodies and souls are equal, and we all deserve the right to work on our own with dignity. Women should not have to just focus on the manners and morals. They should be able to use their mind and make independent decisions. I think Wollstonecraft did an excellent job in conveying her message and opinion. Women do have the right to learn more.
In A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, Chapter 3, the same subject continued, Mary Wollstonecraft states, "A double duty dissolves on her, to educate them in character of both father and mother, to form their principles and secure their property. But alas, she has never thought, much less acted for herself. She has only learned to please men, to depend gracefully on them, yet encumbered with children. How is she to obtain another protector, a husband to supply the place of reason, a rational man? For we are not treading on romantic ground. Though he may think her a pleasing, docile creature, will not choose to marry a family for love, when the world contains many more pretty creatures. What is then to become of her? She either falls as an easy prey to some mean fortune hunter, who defrauds her children of their parental inheritance and renders her miserably, or becomes the victim of discontent and blind indulgence, unable to educate her sons or impress them with respect. For it is not a play on words to assert that people are never respected, though filling an important station, who are not respectable. She pines under the anguish of unveiling impotent regret. The serpent's tooth enters into her very soul, and the vices of lasciviousness youth bring her with sorrow, if not the poverty also, to the grave. Mary Wollstonecraft clearly states that a woman was not created to be a man's slave. They should have their own mind and make their own decisions. During this time, Mary states that women were being educated to depend on men, and that was not right. Wollstonecraft makes a very good point. If a woman loses her husband, how is she supposed to live, and how is she supposed to take care of her children if she's uneducated? Should a woman just have to wait around for a different man to come along, one who might not care for her sons and teach her children? The answer is no. Mary demands that a man must have respect for his wife because she is the one who does all the quote-unquote chores. She teaches her children education and develops them into good citizens. And I think Mary Wollstonecraft makes a very good point throughout this whole essay. The end.
Dun, 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 dun.
In Chapter 2, the prevailing opinion of a sexual character discussed, Mary Wollstonecraft
Had an after... Oh, crap.
Just, I don't know.
In A Vindication of Rights of Women, to assert that people are never respected. Why can I not talk? A woman was to lose her husband, who would take care of her children. Would she just be have to left in the cold and...
Wollstonecraft.
Should we do this in slow-mo?
Are you recording this?
Wait.
Wollstonecraft.
Weird discussion.
They should have their own mind and make their own decisions. They should not be slaves.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thanks for watching.